On the 13th of May, the daughter of a crypto tycoon was attacked by knife-wielding kidnappers in the heart of Paris. 3 men tried to force a 34-year-old woman into a white delivery van in broad daylight. But this is not a one-off attack. France has been rocked by a spate of attempted kidnappings of cryptocurrency workers or their family members. Our research has found an emerging crime wave of at least 4 attacks in the last 6 months alone. Victims are being snatched off the street in broad daylight, and then some have been mutilated in captivity for ransom money. Let's take a look at these attacks in more detail. One man, the father of a crypto influencer, was snatched around New Year in an attempt to blackmail his son. He was found in the back of a car. He had been beaten and doused with petrol. Another man, a crypto firm co-founder, was kidnapped from his home along with his wife in central France in January. By the time he was rescued from the terrifying ordeal by French elite tactical police, his hand had been mutilated. His wife was found in an entirely different part of Paris. This month saw another incident. This time, a 60-year-old man had his finger chopped off while being held for ransom. His kidnappers demanded up to £6 million for his release. He was rescued by armed police after being held for 2 days. We spoke to security expert Will Geddes about this brutal crypto crime wave.
One of the greatest risks that's beginning to emerge are individuals that are prominent within the crypto space that are ultimately ending up being targeted by organized crime and low-level criminals that are seeking opportunity that they can then acquire and rob them of significant amounts of funds, which they can then funnel into their criminal activities and utilize in various different ways. The activities, and particularly the kidnappings and the home invasions of individuals that have been targeted for crypto situations, has been very unique to that industry. And one of the biggest concerns is that especially those that are emerging personalities within that market then quite often will publicize that they have been successful with various crypto trades, whether that be Bitcoin, Ethereum, or other cryptocurrencies which are in existence. This recent attack in Paris, where there was the attempt to kidnap, obviously, the members of the family of this individual involved in high-level cryptocurrencies, shows that this was very well planned. This had been orchestrated by a group who inevitably had undertaken what we would call advanced surveillance or advanced reconnaissance on their targets to identify where would be the most ideal location and point and time for possible interception. Now, these kidnappings can be done very, very quickly by professionals. And although they were unsuccessful in many regards, they were successful in highlighting, obviously, this risk to the particular principal or particular target. I, having been involved in Kidnap for Ransom for the last 20 years, having negotiated a number of cases myself, it's not a question of not paying ransoms. You will pay a ransom if you obviously want to have that member of your family returned to you safely and hopefully in good shape. But it's a question of coming to an agreeable agreement, if you like, as to what is an element of the ransom that can be paid safely. And do bear in mind, although, negotiators like myself do not condone, obviously, helping or facilitating criminals, but one has to bear in mind that you do not want to be an active part in their apprehension, potentially by authorities, because that could jeopardize the safety and the well-being of the hostage themselves. The standard issue with Kidnap for Ransom is it rarely hits the newspapers and it rarely hits the headlines, unless it is someone of a particularly high prominence, where it will draw huge amounts of attention, or the authorities involved or maybe assisting in that negotiation for release of the hostage are less than discreet and information leaks into the media. Many of these cases will go on without detection, without anybody being aware of it. And for those involved in that transaction negotiation, they will want to keep it that way.
But crypto expert Professor Carol Alexander says that kidnappers leave more evidence than they think.
There's this thought that crypto is a currency that one could use to pay ransoms because it's not on the radar of banks and this sort of thing. However, it's actually very transparent because blockchains are where crypto, they run through blockchains which keep a record of absolutely everything. So it's very easy for French authorities, if there is a ransom paid, I think in the was it David Ballard case back in January? Some of the ransom was paid, but the French authorities managed to trace the actual coins that were used and freeze them. And yeah, I don't think that these kidnappers are very clever. It used to be the dark web, you know, and the Silk Road and that, and Bitcoin was used for money laundering and this sort of thing. But nowadays, the FBI, the Department of Justice, and the French have an agency particularly for this and so forth. The forensic software you can use to trace them is so good that the kidnappers will likely be very quickly found out. So, as I said, I don't think they're very clever.